Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into a place where mossy trees breathe like sleeping giants, and stars hide behind layers of enchanted fog. You'll begin your journey just outside a forest that doesn't appear on any map, not because it's hidden, but because the forest forgets names, faces, time. It lets it all slip gently away, like petals in a stream. You stand on the edge now, the grass cool beneath your feet, and the fog curling around your ankles like a lazy cat. Somewhere deeper inside, someone has been forgotten. A name, a nymph, and a memory that wishes to be remembered. You probably won't survive this. Fully awake, that is so. Before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Comment where you're listening from and what time it is for you. I love knowing where this little forest finds you tonight. Now. Dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The path is narrow, stitched together with fallen twigs and pale green moss, each step muffled as though the forest doesn't want to disturb itself. Trees bend slightly overhead, not with weight, but curiosity. Their leaves shimmer faintly, as if brushed with moonlight, though the sky above is just a swirl of dark clouds and soft stars. You wander deeper, the fog wrapping round your shoulders like a shawl. There's no breeze, no bird calls, only the hush of the forest, a lullaby of stillness, and then a hum, gentle, melodic. It seems to vibrate through the bark and soil. Ahead, a wooden arch rises from the mist, woven with ivy and etched with runes, too old for any alphabet you know. A small sign hangs lazily from it, carved in curling letters. Only those without hurry may enter. You step through, and the temperature shifts. It's not colder, just slower. Even your thoughts seem to take longer to finish themselves. Trees grow taller now, bark covered in ancient lichen that forms faint spirals. One trunk bears a strange knot, shaped like an eye, and for a moment it winks, or maybe it blinks. Or maybe it's just your sleepy imagination. You pass a vine-covered bench, where a family of mushrooms appears to be mid-conversation, one of them wearing what might be a tiny crown made of acorns. The crowned one gives you a very dignified nod somewhere far off. A harp string is plucked by no hand. You can see Dot, and then the path widens into a clearing ringed with silver-needled pines, and at the center there is a pool. The water is impossibly still, like glass stretched across the earth, and beneath the surface, names, dozens, hundreds, each glowing faintly, drifting like fish in the dark. Alethea, Daphne, Eurydice, Thalia. Some flicker and vanish. Others float upward like bubbles and burst into forgotten songs. You step closer, peering into the pool. Your own reflection swims toward you, soft, drowsy, a little blurred around the eyes. But it's not your name drifting below. Instead, one single name hovers close to the surface, glowing pale blue. Just a symbol, a question, and then it dissolves into mist, You don't hear anyone approach, but you feel a shift in the clearing, like someone exhaled nearby. A breath, a presence. You turn, and there, leaning against the base of a tree with bark like silver threads and roots coiled like sleeping serpents, is a figure. Small, curled up hair like ivy cascading across her shoulders. Bare feet, pale green dress, woven from leaf silk. She's not quite asleep, not quite awake. Eyes half-lidded, she speaks in a whisper so soft it barely stirs the air. Have you seen my name? I had it just a moment ago. You blink, you try to speak, but no sound comes. The nymph stretches, slow as tree sap, and yawns. It's the kind of yawn that feels like it's catching, so you yawn too. Without meaning to, she sits up properly now, cross-legged on a blanket of moss. There's a flower tucked behind one pointed iris sept. The flower is made of paper, and the paper is black. They say, I'm from the grove of endless bloom, she says dreamily. Or was it the meadow of almost was? I forget. The pool behind you ripples once, though there's no wind. Another name bubbles to the surface and bursts before you can read it. The nymph looks at you, her eyes large and gentle as the moon. You're not from here, are you? You shake your head slowly. Good, she smiles. Maybe that means you'll remember me. She reaches into a pouch at her side, pulls out a single pine needle shaped like a quill, hands it to you. Try writing it, she whispers. You kneel beside the pool and press the tip to the surface. The needle writes nothing. Or maybe it writes everything in invisible ink. Behind you, the nymph giggles softly, as if she knows a secret she's already forgotten. Don't worry, she says. The forest always gives back, eventually. But first, there's a moth we must find. He has a very good memory. A soft glow pulses behind the trees. You glance at her. She nods. Come on. He only lands once every dream. You rise, brushing moss from your knees, and follow the soft footfalls of a nymph with no name. Deeper into the eternal forest where time folds like old parchment, and dreams are the only maps that matter. The pool behind you shimmers once more, as if waving goodbye. Somewhere overhead, a star blinks and forgets itself. The path the nymph takes is barely a path, a talge, a weaving line of slightly flatter moss, scattered with petals that might have once belonged to dreams. Every now and then, a tiny light lifts from the underbrush and hovers, blinking once, twice, then vanishing like a polite firefly that doesn't want to intrude. The nymph walks barefoot, her steps not quite touching the earth, as if the forest chooses to hold her up. You trail just behind, the pine quill still clutched in your hand, unsure whether it's a tool or a cure. Both. His name, she whispers, glancing back over her shoulder with a sly smile, is Archimelion. You blink. The moth. She nods. Not just a moth. The oracle moth. Don't laugh. He's very serious. You would laugh gently if your voice weren't still caught in the hush of the trees. The trail bends, and suddenly you're standing at the edge of a smaller grove where the trees grow in perfect spirals, their trunks twisting like dancers. frozen mid-spin at the center, lit by shafts of glowing pollen that fall like slow snow, is a mushroom the size of a carriage hand perched upon it. Preening his wings with great ceremony is our chameleon. He's enormous. His wings stretch wide, patterned with shimmering eyes that blink lazily, real eyes. It seems not just decoration. His antennae are long, curled like tiny ram's horns, and dusted in silver. Around his neck is a ruffled collar made entirely curled parchment scrolls. He does not look particularly surprised to see you. Our chameleon hums, his voice dry and velveted. You've brought a guest. The nymph curtsies, though she nearly trips on a root and turns it into a twirl instead. He's looking for me, she says simply. Only I'm not exactly missing, just misplaced. Our chameleon stretches, his wings, and gives you a long, considering look. And what are you? Wanderer, a name gatherer, a dream diver, a seeker of bedtime riddles. You open your mouth, then close it. The answer hasn't arrived yet. The moth gives a small, dusty sigh. No matter, time will label you if you linger long enough. He flutters once, sending a warm breeze into the grove. I assume you've come for the lost name. The nymph nods. I saw it, he murmurs, more to himself than anyone. Just before the moons turned inside out, it slipped into the moss-covered pool and wriggled through a crack in the reflection. Typical behavior, really. You step forward, curiosity rising. Can it be found? Of course, our chameleon says, shrugging all four of his wings. But it has scattered names do that. They don't like being trapped. This one, in particular, has hidden itself in fragments. A consonant under a tortoise shell. A vowel in B, a sleeping song. One syllable may be riding a sneeze. A sneeze. You repeat, amused despite yourself. It happens. The moth says gravely. The nymph plucks a leaf and folds it absent-mindedly. Will you help us? Our chameleon leans in, his many eyes blinking in polite unison. I'll give you the first clue. He unrolls a piece of his scroll collar and reads aloud. When teacups bloom and turtles speak, find the name the lilies keep. Steam will rise, and stories spill. She find her name when all is still. Then, very solemnly, he sneezes once. A glowing comma floats into the air and drifts upward until it vanishes. The nymph claps politely. Thank you, our chameleon. Of course, the moth replies. I do love a name quest. Be sure to bring me a biscuit if you find one. With that, he folds his wings around himself like a curtain closing, and falls instantly asleep, scrolls, rustling gently with his breath. The nymph leans toward you. Did you hear that part about teacups? You nod. Then we're going to the tea pavilion, she declares, as though it were the most obvious thing in the world. You follow her once again. The moss springy underfoot, the trees swaying ever, by so slightly as if listening. A squirrel wearing spectacles peers down at you from an overhead branch. He waves with one paw, then promptly drops his acorn into his own teacup and curses in squeaky Greek. The deeper you go, the warmer the air becomes. Not hot, just cozy. like the kind of warmth that curls around your ankles when you slip into a just-filled bath. Eventually, you reach a hill that hums. Yes, hums. The entire hillside vibrates with the faint, contented sighs of ancient stones. A staircase made of crooked tiles winds up to a tiny pavilion, shaped like a snail's shell turned sideways. Smoke curls from a mossy chimney. A sign on the door reads, "The Tortoise Sisters are in. Please knock," sleepily. The nymph knocks once slowly with the back of her hand. The door opens inward with a yawn dot inside. The air is steeped in steam and something floral like chamomile or stardust in blossom form. 3 ancient tortoises sit around a low circular table, wearing mismatched hats and teacups balanced on their shells. Their eyes glimmer like polished pebbles. "Well, well, well," says the largest, who is wearing a monocle. "It's our favorite nameless one. We thought you'd drifted into legend," the smallest adds. "She may have," the middle one murmurs, "but we always keep a saucer just in case." The nymph beams. "This is my friend. He's helping me gather myself." All 3 tortoises nod as one. Very sensible. You sit beside the nymph as a cup of tea is placed in front of you. The steam rises in spirals. It smells of lemon, lavender, and a little like old lullabies. The middle tortoise peers at you. Names have weight, you know. They're not just sounds. They're roots, anchors, lanterns in fog. "She's missing one," you whisper. "We know," says the tortoise with the monocle, peering into her teacup. "But perhaps not forever. Sip slowly. Listen." So you do, and in the steam above the tea, for just a moment, you see a letter, just one, maybe a TH, or a Y, or the curl of a soft L. And then it's gone, drifting into the wooden beams of the ceiling, like a memory with wings. The tea lingers on your tongue like a sigh you almost forgot to finish. The cup is warm in your hands, its rim slightly chipped in the shape of a crescent moon. The nymph sits beside you, cradling her own cup as though it might whisper something important if she holds it long enough. "She's steeped in forgetfulness," murmurs the monocled tortoise. It's common among nymphs of the evergreen fold. Too much time around willow thoughts and dandelion wishes. Very slippery stuff. The smallest tortoise offers a tray of dream biscuits, shaped like acorns and stars. "One for your journey," she says. "Maybe 2, if you're feeling mildly reckless. You take one. It crumbles in your mouth with the taste of cinnamon, sleep, and something that might have once been a lullaby. We remember her," says the middle tortoise, peering out from under a bonnet made of stitched thistle petals. "Vaguely. She danced once in our garden, wore a name like a bell, rang whenever she smiled. I miss ringing," the nymph whispers. The largest tortoise leans in, her shell creaking faintly. "Your name isn't gone, dear, just scattered, like leaves before a wind. You'll find it, or it will find you. Names are good at that eventually." "How?" you ask, and not rudely. The tortoise blinks slowly, like a page turning. "Drift," she says. "That's the only way forward here. Not walking, not chasing, just drifting." The nymph brightens, like on the river. The three tortoises nod together, slow and wise and oddly musical. Yes, drift down the lullaby river. That's where pieces of old names often gather. The smallest reaches behind a stack of napkins and pulls out a folded leaf boat, no larger than a teacup. She places it on the table. You stare at it. Then you blink. It's full-sized now. You're not entirely sure when that happened. The nymph leaps to her feet, excitement bubbling. Thank you, sisters. We'll bring back a syllable or two, I promise. And another biscuit, calls the tortoise with the star hat, if it's not too much trouble. The door opens by itself. Outside, the hill hums louder. The tune now unmistakably a lullaby, kind grandmothers hum when they don't know they're humming. You follow the nymph out, the boat somehow waiting beside a gentle slope that leads into a narrow stream, trickling with golden water. How did it get here? You ask. She shrugs. Things drift. The boat smells of clover and old parchment. It's warm to the touch. When you step in, it doesn't rock or tilt, it simply accepts you. The nymph hops in beside you, brushing invisible dust off a petal-padded seat with a sigh. The boat pushes off, all on its own. The river curves lazily through the trees, which now lean a little closer, as if hoping to eavesdrop on your journey. Flowers bob along the banks, some with tiny bells inside their petals. They chime softly when stirred by your passing. This river, the nymph says, collects pieces of songs that were never sung, and memories that forgot who they belonged to. You trail your fingers in the water. It's not wet. It feels like velvet and melted candlelight. Suddenly, something nudges the side of the boat. You look over. A school of fish swims alongside, but they aren't quite fish. They have scales that glimmer like fragments of old parchment, and they hum softly different tones, like each one remembers a different tune. They're guiding us, the nymph explains. The river listens, but the fish remember. You lean closer. One hum sounds like a childhood rhyme you don't recall learning. Another fish flicks its tail, and a tiny vowel dances in the air, visible only for a heartbeat before dissolving like dew. How long will the journey take? You ask, though your voice already sounds slower, softer, until we find stillness, she says. Stillness is where names like to wait. The sky above fades into purples and gentle creams. The light caught in permanent dusk. A cloud shaped like a lyre drifts past upside down. After a while, the nymph begins to hum, the same tune the fish seem to know. You hum too, not knowing the notes, but somehow not getting them wrong either. A lily pad floats by with a small snail sipping from a thimble. He tips his shell to you in greeting, then continues on. Do you think we'll find it? She asks quietly. My name? You look at her, the shimmer in her hair, the quiet hope in her eyes, the faint chime her breath makes when it leaves her lips. You nod somewhere ahead. The river opens into a wide glade flooded with moonlight. In the center is a tiny dock built from driftwood and dreams. The boat glides in and stops with a quiet she-dot. The nymph steps out and helps you follow. The dock creaks like an old bedtime story being reopened, dot around the glade. Willows droop low, their leaves like curtains of green silk. Fireflies blink in and out, spelling maybe words in the air fragments, syllables, unfinished names. There is a stone pedestal at the glade's center, and upon it rests a book bound in bark and spider silk. Its pages are blank, or nearly blank, as you draw near. A letter appears, just one, a soft E, then a hush. Even the trees seem to hold their breath. The nymph leans in close to the book. Her fingers trace the letter as if it's warm. It's a piece, she murmurs. Only a piece, but it's mine. The pedestal shimmers, then fades into mist. The book vanishes, but the letter stays glowing on the nymph's fingertips, like an ember from a long-ago fire. She smiles at you, eyes shining. Thank you, that's one. You nod from the trees. A single leaf floats down and lands silently in the shape of a comma on your shoulder, as if the forest is gently pausing the story just for a moment. The leaf on your shoulder curls slightly, as though acknowledging its purpose is fulfilled. The nymph picks it up with reverence and tucks it into her hair beside the paper flower. Every pause matters, she says dreamily. Some pauses become turning points. The glade hums faintly as the lullaby river flows away behind you, the current continuing its endless spiral through forgotten songs and half-remembered names. You and the nymph stand at the edge of something, not an end, not a beginning, just the next. She turns her head as though listening for a direction. Then she grins. Do you hear that? You don't. Not at first. Then flutter, flutter, thunk, dot again. Flutter, flutter, thunk. You follow the sound, stepping carefully over mossy roots and under a vine shaped like a question mark. The path curves, meanders, possibly loops, but eventually you find yourselves standing before a sign, hand-painted and hanging from a crooked branch, the oracle of forgotten spelling. Open Thursdays and slightly windy afternoons. Beneath it sits a hollow log draped in ivy, and atop the log, puffing on a blade of grass like a flute, is the largest moth you've ever seen. Except this one is not ARCHIMELION. No. This is someone else entirely. Bless my wings, the moth mutters, not looking up. Visit us. The nymph bows slightly. We were told there might be letters here. HMMPH, says the moth, twitching his antennae. Letters are a responsibility, you know, not to be given out like berries at a harvest picnic. Are you familiar with consonant etiquette? You shake your head. He seems to take this as a yes. He tucks the grass flute behind his wing and hops down onto a toadstool. My name is Thomas, he declares, keeper of linguistic leftovers, curator of silent letters, connoisseur of spelling that no longer makes sense. Also, I play the lyre, but only on alternating Mondays. The nymph tilts her head. We're searching for the lost name of a nymph who lost it in the forest of Evanar. Pothmus squints at her. You're the one who tried to spell your name backwards while sneezing, aren't you? The nymph looks guilty. It was an accident. Well, Pothmus huffs. No wonder the letters scattered. Sneezing while naming is highly inadvisable. That's how the river ended up with 5 silent Ks. He flutters up and disappears briefly into the hollow log. There's the sound of shuffling, muttering, and what might be a sneeze, followed by a curse in ancient dialect. When he re-emerges, he's carrying a tiny satchel made of woven punctuation. He spills it on the moss before you. Out tumble fragment scraps, by of sound, broken syllables. One very smug-looking ampersand. These, he says, are letters with memory. They'll only reassemble if spoken in the right place, at the right time, with the right emotion. What's the right place, you ask? Pothmus clicks his mandibles thoughtfully. Could be the library beneath the ferns. Could be the moon pebble orchard. The letters haven't decided yet. And the emotion? The nymph asks. Longing, Pothmus replies. And not the impatient kind. The slow kind. Like waiting for tea to steep when you've forgotten what kind it was. The ampersand winks at you, then does a somersault and vanishes into the moss. Cheeky thing, mutters the moth. The nymph kneels to gather the remaining fragments. She holds them gently, like eggs that haven't decided whether they want to hatch. Will they guide us? Only if you trust them, Pothmus says, and maybe sing to them. Letters like lullabies. You look to the nymph. She nods. To the library, then. But Pothmus raises a wing. Not so fast. You'll need a passcode to get in. He leans forward conspiratorially. Ready, he says. You nod. He whispers, rutabaga. Whisper it into the fern with the most attitude. You try to ask what that means, but he's already disappeared back into the hollow log, muttering about the silent G in gnomes. You and the nymph exchange a look. Library beneath the ferns it is, she says, smiling. I've always wanted to visit. The trail ahead is narrow but inviting, paved in mossy cobblestones that seem to hum underfoot. Ferns sway gently along the edge-store, feathery and very opinionated looking. One fern in particular is leaning sideways with bray, a dramatic droop, wearing a ladybug like a brooch. That one, the nymph whispers. You step forward and kneel. You clear your throat. Then, gently rutabaga. The fern perks up slightly, then swoons. A creak sounds from beneath it, and the ground opens. Not abruptly, not dangerously, just politely. Stone steps spiral downward, lit by glowing beetles. In glass jars, you descend slowly, the air growing cooler, thicker with the scent of parchment, ink, and quiet dot. At the bottom is a cavernous room, where vines crawl across towering bookshelves, and books hum lullabies in languages forgotten even by the gods. The shelves rearrange themselves as you enter, parting to let you through. The nymph breathes in deeply. Oh, I remember this place. I think you walk between rows of sleeping scrolls and half-open tomes. A cloud of floating bookmarks buzzes past, muttering plot summaries to one another. At the center of the library, a podium grows straight out of the earth. Upon it rests a blank book upon, waiting. The letter fragments begin to twitch in the nymph's hands, and without prompting, she begins to hum. It's the same tune from the river, but softer, deeper now, like she's humming through her bones. The letters rise, spinning gently in the air above the book, and one of them settles, a soft L. It glows faintly, then sinks into the page. The nymph exhales, another piece. The book closes gently. No dust rises, no page. R-U-S-T-L-E-S. Just silence, warm, promising silence. You follow the winding corridor of vines, leaving the library behind, each frond murmuring secrets as you pass. Ahead, the forest opens into a courtyard dotted with colossal rain catchers, leaf canopies stretched atop smooth stone pillars. Water drips in perfect, deliberate intervals. Plink, plunk, plip, each note measured, precise. In the center stands a figure half hidden beneath a wide-brimmed mushroom cap. His legs are goat-like, striped in mossy browns and greens, and his curly horns peek out from under the cap's underside. A wooden abacus hangs at his hip. With patient dedication, he counts each raindrop as it falls. He glances up, eyes the color of storm clouds. "Ah, new listeners," he says, voice low and rhythmic like distant thunder. "I am Crimelo's Satan, bump of the counted storm. I've tallied exactly 12,947 raindrops since dawn, though dawn itself slipped away some time ago." You crouch beside him, watching the next drop descend. It lands on a copper bowl and rings like a miniature bell. "Why count them?" you whisper Crimelo's, taps a bead on his abacus. "Names," he replies. "Every drop carries an echo of a forgotten syllable. The longer the rain falls, the closer the nymph's name drifts to the surface. A gentle mist swirls at your ankles, carrying the scent of wild mint and damp cedar. Tiny dew spiders weave gossamer threads between your toes, leaving soft tickles with each step. You ask, "Have you heard any fragments?" He nods, leaning on his staff carved from willow. "Earlier, I heard thou, though it may have simply been the wind playing tricks. Some say the ancient rain spirits of Thessaly whispered lullabies into the storms. Others swear that each bolt of lightning is a lost consonant crying to be found. One drop falls directly onto the tip of Crimelus's nose. He doesn't flinch, but counts it anyway. Plink, your friend seeks her name," he says to the nymph, who peers at the abacus with hopeful eyes. "I can offer you a clue for every 1,000 drops I tally. You're at 12,947. So, 3 more. Clues if you stay." She smiles softly. "We'll listen." Crimelo's drags a finger through the dripping moss at his feet, revealing a carved rune of a crescent moon. His other hand lifts a hollow reed to his lips, and from it emerges a slow, mournful whistle ancient as the first rainfall. The sound ripples through the courtyard. "Remember," he breathes between notes. "The rain remembers too. It falls where memory pools, in hidden hollows beneath roots. You feel the ground tremble ever so slightly, as if the courtyard itself pulses with awareness. Suddenly, from the canopy above, a single raindrop descends, slower than the rest, glowing faintly with silvery light. It lands in your open palm. Inside, you see a patentini swirls that could be letters if you tilt your head just so. Before you can show the nymph, the drop evaporates in a soft hiss, leaving a single whisper on your skin. Look for the snail beneath the willowy bridge. Crimelos bows his head, and the rain whistle falls silent. I must resume counting, he announces, his voice turning into the next roll of distant thunder. May your silence guide you. You and the nymph step away, following a narrow footpath that arches over a shallow brook. Under the bridge, a snail with a spiral shell as polished as obsidian peeks out. Its antennae wave like tiny flags. The snail speaks in a voice softer than moss. 3,000 drops past midnight, and I've seen the letters swirl in the foam. Follow the river's whisper, and listen for stones that hum, ... Double quotes, the nymph kneels, whispering thanks. You feel the stones under the bridge hum with each word you say. That as you climb back onto the bridge, the satyr's whistle resumes, counting once more. Plink, plunk, plip, and somewhere beyond the next bend, the hush of the forest deepens. Trees lean in closer, as though they, too, are curious. A sudden breeze carries a question on its wings. Does the moon ever forget its rays? You pause, letting the words drift away. The quest unfolds, and the rain continues falling, one measured drop at a time each, a gentle reminder that some mysteries are meant to be savored, not solved in haste. The footpath leads you deeper beneath a canopy so thick, even the moonlight filters through in gentle wisps like sleepy sighs. The trees here are quieter, older, perhaps. They lean inward like gossiping grandmothers who've agreed not to disturb. The child of twilight, you and the nymph, tread softly, your steps muffled by a carpet of velvet moss. Fireflies drift lazily overhead, blinking in no particular hurry. Somewhere in the distance, you hear it, a hum not mechanical, not insect, just a low, melodic tone, vibrating faintly through the soles of your feet. The humming stones. The snail was right. The river nearby has narrowed into a stream, winding through knotted roots like a silver thread in tangled embroidery. As you follow it, you spot them, smooth, flat stones dotting the bank, each gently humming a different note. Some low and warm like a lullaby, others high and shimmering, like water touched by starlight. The nymph kneels beside one and places her hand on its surface. Immediately, a soft tone rings out, sit sharp, maybe. You're not sure, but it makes the leaves above tremble slightly. Another stone responds. You join her, placing your fingertips on a different stone. It responds to your touch, too deeper this time. A note like warm honey sliding down a harp string. And just like that, the forest around you begins to change. The trees part slightly. A narrow archway of ivy unveils itself, revealing a grove, shaped like a spiral. In its center, a marble pedestal and a sleeping mask. Not a regular mask, but one made entirely from woven petals and threads of moonbeam. You approach, and the pedestal sighs as if relieved to see you. The sleepers mask, the nymph whispers. Some say it belonged to hypnosis' first dreamer, one who never woke up. You reach out, but don't touch. The mask seems to hum in harmony with the stones. The air thickens like syrup. You feel drowsy, yet wonderfully aware. Above the pedestal, a shimmering moth flutters into view. Its wings are translucent and inscribed with shifting letters. The moth dips and spins, then lands gently on your hand. You stare at its wings. Letters blink into form. Not all dreams are remembered, but they remember you. The moth lifts off and dissolves into silvery dust, which drifts toward the nymph's shoulder and settles into the shape of a faint, glowing rune. She doesn't see it, but you do. A letter, maybe the first letter of her name. She turns to you, voice soft as falling ash. Do you think I'm dreaming all this? You consider, maybe, but dreams don't usually echo back when you speak. A rustle in the trees draws your attention. Out steps an elderly dryad wrapped in a cloak made of pressed leaves. Her eyes are closed, but she walks confidently, tapping a gnarled stick that emits a sleepy chime with every step. She doesn't greet you exactly, just sits beside one of the stones and hums. The stone hums back in perfect pitch. The nymph leans closer. She's dream-tuned. She whispers. Her thoughts align with the forest's rhythm. The dryad begins to speak, though her eyes never open. The name you seek was once spoken at the edge of dreams. Seek the cloud mirror. It only appears when you're thinking of something you've forgotten, but still love. You both blink by the cloud mirror. Before you can ask, the dryad fades like a mist retreating from the sun, leaving behind only her staffs still gently chiming. The nymph picks it up. It feels familiar. You walk together, following the path as the forest changes again. Above, the moon peeks through the trees. It looks oddly bashful, half hidden behind a veil of drifting cloud. A single branch stretches up as if trying to reach it. You wonder, idly, if the moon ever grants second chances to things forgotten. Beneath its light, ahead, a shimmer glistens through the trees. Mist pools on the ground. The air smells of lilacs and static. The stones beneath your feet go silent. Even the insects stop their song. Then you see it, a mirror, impossibly large and impossibly soft-looking, floating in mid-air. It doesn't reflect your face. It reflects your memories, except they aren't yours. They're hers. The nymph watches, herself chasing something through wildflowers. A name echoing in her ears, one she cannot quite hold onto. It begins with thou again, fades like a feather on wind. She presses a hand to the mirror. Her reflection does the same. Suddenly, her hair glows faintly golden at the tips. You're remembering, you whisper. She nods, tears welling, but they sparkle, not fall, behind you. One of the humming stones lets out a final, low note, almost a lullaby. You sit together beneath the cloud mirror as it ripples gently, holding truths not ready to be spoken yet. Around you, the forest hums again, as if content to rest. For now, the cloud mirror doesn't vanish. It just loosens, like a dream fading slowly from your fingers. One moment it's solid, floating and glowing in the mist. The next, it drifts upward in wisps, breaking into cloud-like fragments that catch the moonlight like paper lanterns before dissolving into nothing at all. The nymph stands still for a long time, her fingers hovering where the mirror had been. It felt like holding someone's hand through water. She murmurs. You nudge her gently with your elbow. Do you think that was your memory? She nods slowly. Yes, or almost. It's like the forest remembers my memories for me. The humming stones no longer sing, but the faint melody lingers in your mind. You follow it like a half-remembered tune, letting it guide your feet. Puts and soon, the mossy trail gives way to cobbled steps carved into the roots of a tree that's wider than a mountain goat is tall. The path bends, then twists, until it leads into an archway formed by tree limbs and thornless roses. Each bloom pulses faintly with pale pink light. The air smells faintly of dreamberries and ancient parchment. Just past the arch, you see it, a circular grove with shelves built into the trees, hundreds of them, books, scrolls, ribbons of floating ink. This is not a library made by mortals. A glowing owl blinks at you from a perch overhead. Its feathers shimmer with sentences. It hoots softly, and a scroll drifts toward you from one of the branches, tied with a thread of silver ivy. The nymph catches it before it hits the ground. She reads aloud. When the heart forgets, the forest writes it down. To find what's lost, follow ink that drips upward. You both look up. Sure enough, a trail of liquid ink is flowing, not down, but upward, from a tiny fountain into the air. Like reversed rain, you follow it. The ink flows slowly, lazily, spiraling into the boughs above, and you climb after its steps, revealing themselves in the bark as you go. Higher and higher, past whispering leaves and nests that hum lullabies in ancient Greek. A squirrel wearing spectacles waves at you with a quill. Eventually, you reach a branch that stretches out like a balcony, overlooking a pool of starlight, collected in a stone basin. Floating above it is a single name, shimmering and unfinished, Taily. The nymph reaches out, fingers trembling. A drop of ink rises from the basin and lands on her fingertip. Her eyes widen. She remembers a treehouse, not this one, but smaller, with wooden spoons hung like chimes, a scent of cinnamon and salt, and laughter hers. I had a sister, she breathes, and just like that, a gust of wind flutters past. A book from one of the shelves below breaks loose and sails up toward you. The owl snatches it in its beak and delivers it to the nymph's hands before vanishing in a quiet puff of punctuation. The book has no title, but it opens on its own. Inside, hand-drawn sketches of a nymph child with gold-tipped hair, always holding hands with another similar but not quite the same. Beside one sketch, a scribbled note, Thaliessa and Elira, guardians of the wishing grove. The name stirs something in her. Thaliessa, she whispers, that was me. That is me. You both stare at the word. It feels right, like a final puzzle piece settling into place. But then, a curious thing happens. All the books on the tree shelves flutter open at once, their pages rustling like 1,000 whispers. A breeze rushes past, curling the petals around the archway below. The name in the starlight pool glows once, then sinks. Wait, why would it vanish? You ask. Thal, yes, Sa frowns. Because names aren't meant to be kept only in books. They're meant to be spoken, lived, woven back into the world. You look around. So how do we do that? She looks up, eyes clear for the first time since you met her. We find the Grove of Wishes. That's where Elira and I last spoke aloud, as if the forest heard her intention. A ladder of flowering vines unfurls beside you, reaching down to the mossy floor below. You both descend, slower this time, thoughtful by the memory. Her name is like a baby firefly now, still flickering, but ready to glow brighter. At the base of the tree, you find a single candle floating in midair. It turns toward Thaliessa, like a puppy that recognizes its owner. She smiles, cups her hands, and it lowers gently into her palms. From within its little flame, a path unfolds, a golden thread winding ahead into the trees. Not north, not south, just ahead, into a part of the forest neither of you have yet seen. As you walk, you pass a statue, partially overtaken by ivy. It's a nymph carved mid-laughter, holding a tiny bird in her hands. The base reads, "Let all who forget find joy in being found." You pause. Do you think we're close? Thaliessa gazes down the glowing path. I don't know, she says, but for the first time, I don't feel lost anymore. The wind stirs the leaves gently. Somewhere far behind you, a humming stone begins to sing, a Genghis one, a single soft note, as if saying, "Yes, yes, you are remembered." The candlelight path weaves deeper into the forest, now quieter here, thicker, with moss clinging to every branch like memories refusing to be washed away. The trees lean inward, not menacing, but curious, like elders listening without interrupting. You and Thaliessa walk in step, her barefoot soles barely making a sound on the forest floor. She hums softly, now a half melody, without lyrics, but it feels like her name. Somehow just ahead, nestled in a bed of clover and forget-me-nots, is a creature so slow-moving it seems part of the landscape. A giant snail. Its shell is painted with tiny, looping trails of dried silver ink. As you approach, it lifts its heather-wrinkled face with eyelids heavy as dusk clouds. "Well, well," the snail says, his voice like an old rocking chair. "It's been a long time since I smell a half-returned name." Thaliessa tilts her head. "Do you know me?" "Not anymore," the snail sighs. "But I remember knowing you. That's close enough in this forest." You kneel beside the snail, We're looking for the grove of wishes. The snail smiles, or attempts to. Then you're not lost. You're just remembering in the right directions. He begins to move slowly, of course, dragging behind him a glistening trail that sparkles faintly under the candlelight. Follow my path, but not too closely, he warns. I shed memories like breadcrumbs, but not all are safe to touch. You and Thaliessa exchange a glance. Then you walk, keeping just enough distance from the shimmering trail which bends in perfect curves like a calligraphy stroke across the forest floor as you follow. Strange things appear along the edges of the path. A music box with no lid, playing a lullaby in reverse. A child's drawing pinned to a tree, showing to nymphs. And a bird with 7 wings. A single sandal, tiny and cracked with age, resting atop a rock like a forgotten offering. Do you think these are your memories? You ask. Thaliessa shakes her head slowly. No, these belong to others. The forest keeps more than just mine. The snail chuckles. She's right. The grove remembers every forgotten thing. Lost names, broken promises, half-finished lullabies. The candle flickers in your hand. You walk on, deeper still. Finally, the path opens into a circular clearing, a perfect ring of ancient trees surrounding a shallow pool of still water. The air here hums, no wind, no birdsong, just ... presence. This is it, the snail whispers, settling at the grove's edge. This is where names come home. The pool's surface reflects not the sky, but memory's fragments, shimmering. Like fallen stars beneath water, Thaliessa steps forward. Illyra, she says, the name almost a breath. Sister, if you're still here, I need to remember you properly. I need to say it aloud again. The pool glows faintly. She kneels, closes her eyes, and sings. It's not a full song, just a thread of melody, as if stitched from the wind and her own heartbeat. But with each note, something changes. The water ripples, a soft voice, not yours, not hers, answers from beneath the pool. Thaliessa. And then, rising slowly from the center of the grove, like fog, comes the image of a second nymph. Put her hair darker, her smile wide with recognition. Illyra. The image flickers, not quite solid, not quite gone. But in that moment, Thaliessa is no longer alone. Tears streak down her cheeks. Not sorrow, just the kind of tears that come when something long lost stops being heavy. The voice returns again, softer. I never forgot you. I only waited. The reflection fades, but a single silver blossom blooms beside the pool. Thaliessa picks it, holds it to her chest. She remembers me, she whispers. No, the snail corrects kindly. You remember you, above the canopy. Parch just slightly, and for the first time, a starlight beam touches the grove's center. The pool clears. The air softens, and Thaliessa says her name once more, not searching, but certain. I am Thaliessa. The grove whispers it back, and the forest hums approval. You linger a while in the grove, the hush around you still as sleep. Thaliessa holds the silver blossom like it's the first real thing she's touched in years. You sit together beneath the moonlight, now filtering through the parting trees' core, quiet and watching. You don't know how much time passes, and it doesn't seem to matter here. Eventually, the old snail lifts his head once more. "There's one last place you ought to visit," he says, his voice slow and warm. "A mirror that doesn't show what you are, but what you always were, even before forgetting, even before names." Thaliesa nods. She's calm now. Not complete, but calm in that cozy, dreamlike way, when something broken has begun stitching itself together again. The snail gestures his wrinkled chin toward a narrow path behind the pool, down that way, past the trees that lean away from the moon. You'll know the mirror when you see it. You thank the snail. Thaliesa presses her fingers gently to his shell in farewell, and you both set off again, the silver blossom tucked safely into her little satchel made of folded leaves and soft bark. The path narrows. Moss gives way to soft sand, and your feet leave temporary prints, only to have them gently erased by the breeze behind you. The trees grow paler, here white, barked and leafless, as though winter visited them once and they decided never to wake. Up again, at last. The path ends in a hollowed glade of marble-colored stones, and at its center is a mirror unlike any you've seen. It's framed in vines that grow in slow motion, looping and spiraling endlessly as you watch. The glass itself doesn't shimmer. In fact, it seems almost dull, like morning mist trapped in a pane. And yet you feel it watching you. Thou, yes, Sa approaches first. The moment she steps before it, the glass pulses softly. You can't see what she sees. The mirror shows each traveler only their true self, not as the world sees them, not even as they imagine themselves, but as they've always quietly been. Thaliesa says nothing for a long time. Her fingers slowly lift to her reflection, not to touch it, but to trace it in the air. When she speaks, her voice is soft and certain. I remember now, before the forest, before a lyra, I used to sing the stars to sleep. I had a crown made of moonlight and a favorite wren who lived in my hair. I used to know myself. She laughs, suddenly quiet. I even remember the first time I lost a tooth. I buried it in a mushroom cap and told a spider to keep it safe. You smile, not sure if that's a metaphor or literal here. Either way, it sounds exactly like something a forest nymph would do. Then the mirror ripples, and for the briefest moment, just a shimmer, you do see her reflection, but not the Thaliesa you've walked with. You see a being made of song and sky, with eyes like still lakes and hair that floats as if remembering, wind, a shimmer of ancient calm and childlike wonder, held together in one luminous form. Then it's gone. The mirror dulls again. Thaliesa steps back, blinking slowly, like someone waking from a good dream they almost forgot. Your turn, she whispers. You hesitate, but the mirror waits when you step before it. Nothing happens at first. Then, gradually, your own face begins to blur it, dissolve, but simplify. Your eyes seem calmer, your expression softer. You seem more you, though it's hard to explain how. Like seeing yourself the way a storybook might draw you, or the way a friend might picture you when they think of their favorite memory. And then, from deep inside the mirror, comes a whisper, not words exactly, but an echo of your name. Not the one on papers or spoken aloud, but the quiet, secret one that only dreams seem to know. It's beautiful and a little sad, and then it fades. You step back. Thaliessa places a hand on your shoulder. You remembered too, she says gently, even if you weren't the one who forgot. The wind picks up just slightly, curling the edges of the trees like pages turning above you. The moon is climbing higher, rounder, watching still. The mirror fades to mist. Neither of you look back. Behind you, the glade vanishes with a sigh, like an exhaled memory, and in front of you, the final path appears, thin, winding, leading, at last, toward the edge of the eternal forest. Or perhaps, further in. You don't speak for a while as you walk, but something inside both of you is quieter now. Not empty, just lighter, like a name carried not with fear of forgetting, but with love of remembering. The path now grows mossy again, but it doesn't feel like a return. Each step forward feels deeper, more dreamlike. You pass branches that seem to bend slightly in your direction, as if listening to your footsteps. The air smells of old parchment, flies and new blossoms, a curious blend that makes you feel both ancient and just born. Thaliessa walks beside you, the silver blossom still tucked in her satchel, her eyes calm in a way they hadn't been before. Not without questions, but no longer weighed down by them. At last, the path opens into a clearing unlike any you've seen. It's not wide, but it feels vast. At the center stands a tree, but not just a tree. This one is impossibly tall. Its trunk be so wide that a dozen people holding hands couldn't encircle it. Its bark shimmers faintly with soft glimmers of color, like faded ink soaked into wood. Its roots coil outward like rivers of memory, gently lifting stones, cradling forgotten trinkets, and curling into the earth like sleeping serpents. And the branches, they stretch up into the dark canopy like the arms of a story trying to be told. Each one holds something: a ribbon, a toy boat, a piece of parchment, a necklace of pearls, a dusty boot, a music box. Things that should not belong in a tree, yet do. You both pause, barely breathing. This is the tree of forgotten things, Thaliessa whispers. You don't ask how she knows. Maybe it's something the mirror gave back to her. You both step closer, and though the air is thick with magic, it's not heavy, it's gentle, comforting, like the smell of linen left in sunlight, like a lullaby you haven't heard since you were small. Thaliessa lifts her eyes to a branch just overhead. Hanging from it is a soft blue ribbon, curling at the ends. As you watch, a breeze nudges its hand. You hear a faint laugh, a child's giggle, echoing faintly, then gone. These aren't just things, you murmur. Thaliessa nods. They're pieces people leave behind when they forget. Not always physical things. Sometimes just feelings, moments, names. She steps close to the trunk. The bark is smooth to her touch, but faint lines begin to glow beneath her finger sigils. Shapes, old letters. Do you think your name is here? You ask. I think part of it might be, she says, but not as a word, as something I once did. She reaches up, not to take, but to return. She removes the silver blossom from her satchel, holds it for a moment, then tucks it gently into a crook of the tree's bark, where it fits like a missing puzzle piece. And as she does, the entire tree shudders, not with violence, but with a soft ripple, like breath after holding it too long. The blossom glows faintly, then dissolves, and from somewhere above, a single petal falls. It lands softly in Thaliesa's open palm. On it is written, in the tiniest shimmer of letters, a name. You lean closer, but it's not one you can pronounce. It's like the hush of snow falling into a pond, or the warmth of light through stained glass. It's not for your lips, it's for her heart. She smiles, doesn't read it aloud, just places the petal against her chest and closes her eyes. Somewhere deep in the tree, a bell sounds, faint, like it's underwater, or inside a memory. Then, silence. The roots seem to shift slightly beneath your feet, not threatening, more like stretching after a long nap, and the tree exudes peace. Thaliesa turns to you. This forest doesn't trap people, she says. It holds them until they're ready to return. You blink. Return where? She smiles. That's the part I'm still remembering. Another breeze flows through the clearing, and this time you hear it clearly, 1,000 soft whispers, not scary or loud, but like bedtime stories, being told at once that the tree is talking, not in language, but in feeling. You both listen, and in the distance, through the branches, you glimpse a flickering light, a doorway, or maybe a path, the final path. It wasn't visible before, but now that the blossom is returned, and her name remembered, it shines softly like a candle waiting to be followed. You and Thaliesa step back from the tree. Neither of you look up again. Some things are best held once, then left behind gently, before you leave the clearings. You glance over your shoulder just once, and the ribbon from before flutters again. This time, you hear your own laugh from when you were small. Then it fades, and the tree sleeps again. You take your first step onto the final path, though it doesn't feel like a new beginning. It feels like something long promised, finally arriving. The earth here is soft, not muddy, but mossy and warm, like walking across a great creature's back as it dreams. The trees arch differently along this path, less like guardians, more like old friends leaning in to wave goodbye. Their leaves are translucent in places, catching light that isn't from the sun. Maybe moonlight, maybe memory, maybe something older still. Thaliesa walks quietly beside you, not hurried, not hesitant. Her expression is that of someone who's just woken from a dream and still remembers it clearly. You realize she's not humming anymore, but not because the song is gone. It's because she no longer needs it to anchor her. After a while, you pass a wooden post stuck in the ground. Tied to it is a tag, dangling from a silken cord. You pause to read it. Scrawled in sleepy handwriting, it reads, "This way, if you're still not sure." You look at Thalassa. She shrugs and smiles. "It's probably for me," she says. "But you're welcome to be unsure too." You walk on, a little further down. The path splits not in two, but in three. No signposts this time, just three different kinds of terrain. To the left, a meadow glows with silvery grass and hovering fireflies shaped like teardrops. In the center, a wooden bridge stretches over a still black pool. So still, you can see stars, even though there's no sky. And to the right, a winding stair climbs through the trees into a misty cloud. Steps carved from polished moonstone. Thalassa doesn't hesitate. She walks toward the pool. You follow, though the water makes your stomach flutter. It's not fear. It's like the moment before a secret is spoken. The bridge is narrow but sturdy. No handrails, but it feels safe. The water beneath you is utterly motionless. No frogs, no fish, just your reflection, or rather reflections. Because as you step further, you notice the pool doesn't reflect what is, but what was. You see Thalassa as she must have been, once nymph, twirling barefoot through a flowering glade, laughing with abandon, her hands full of wild strawberries. You see yourself, too, maybe not as you were, but as you could have been, braver, or smaller, or made of feathers. It changes with each glance. Thalassa stops the center of the bridge. She turns to face you. "This was the first place I forgot. My name," she says. You frown. "The first place." She nods. "When I first looked into the pool, I thought it showed me someone I liked more than who I really was. So I let the image stay and let myself go." The wind hums low. You both gaze down into the water again. This time, there's no reflection at all, only a faint shimmer, like a sheet of silver silk. Thalassa closes her eyes and exhales slowly. "I think this is where I choose." You say nothing. She lifts her hands, and gently, like brushing hair, away from a child's face, she presses her palms to the shimmer on the surface. It does not splash. It folds, like cloth rippling upward in a shape you can't quite define. A doorway, a veil, a memory-lifting dot. And in that rising shimmer, you hear something you didn't expect. Laughter, many voices, music, a waterfall, and bells. Always bells. Thalassa steps forward into the light, but just before she vanishes, she turns and says with complete certainty, "My name is and I am ready to remember the rest." And then she is gone. No sound, no flash, no flash, just soft silver folding back into the surface, leaving only a slight ripple. You stand there for a long moment, not sad, just very, very still. A small butterfly, blue, with wings like folded parchment lands on your shoulder. It flutters once, then settles. You take that as a sign and keep walking. The bridge ends at a grove filled with bluebells. Soft chimes echo as you step through them, a gentle reward for the patient traveler. Ahead, the trees part, revealing a slope that leads downward into the deepest part of the eternal forest. The mist thickens, but it's no longer disorienting. It's welcoming, inviting, like warm blankets drawn up to your chin. On a rainy morning, you follow the trail down behind you. The path folds closed, not in warning, but like a page being gently turned. One step closer to the end of a story that no longer needs telling. At the foot of the slope, you find yourself in a place unlike the rest of the forest, a quiet valley cupped gently between two hills, where the air feels denser somehow, like a held breath. The ground is carpeted with moss so soft it silences even the whispers of your footsteps. No bird song, no wind, only the faint rustle of something sweet ripening in the hush. You've entered the memory orchard. The trees here are short and twisted, their branches thick with fruit that glows faintly in shades no painter could name. You see a plum, the color of lullabies, a pear that glimmers like forgotten laughter, and apples with skins like shimmering silk. Thaliessa once told all long ago, or maybe just a few hours past, that each tree bears the memories people lose. On purpose, they grow from things we let go, she had said. Regrets, heartbreak, childhood wishes, names. Sometimes, people even return to pluck one and remember again. You walk slowly between the trunks, and the orchard hums. There's no wind, and yet the leaves tremble, shimmering with possibility. One tree's bark is engraved with tiny runes that rearrange themselves every time you look away. Another has hollow knots in the shape of closed eyes. You pause at a fig tree whose fruit flickers with a faint blue glow. You touch one, and it quivers. For a second, a memory floods your mind. A candlelit room, the smell of wet ink, your hands bestained with story. A voice you once knew says your name, not your real one, but the one you used in dreams. It's sweet and aching, and then it vanishes. You step back, breath caught in your throat. The fig glows a little brighter now. You realize you've just added to it, not a full memory, but a flavor, a shimmer of feeling. You move on. At the center of the orchard, a single tree towers above the rest. Its trunk is silver, its leaves shaped like feathers, and its fruit is star-shaped, pitch pulsing with light from within. Beneath it stands a woman you don't know. How long she's been there. She wears a robe of woven dusk and dawn, and her hair falls in long waves that shift between the colors of winter sunsets and sleepy embers. Her eyes are closed, not in meditation, but in rest. She's leaning against the tree as if it's an old friend, and in her lap rests a wooden bowl. You feel like you shouldn't speak, but you do anyway. Is this your orchard? You whisper. She smiles without opening her eyes. It belongs to those who need it. You nod. It feels like the right answer. She lifts a hand, not toward you, but toward the tree above. One of the glowing, star-shaped fruits detaches and floats gently down into her palm. She offers it to you. You hesitate. Will it show me something I forgot? You ask. She chuckles softly. Only what you're ready to remember. The fruit is warm. You hold it. It beats faintly, like a second heart. When you close your eyes and take a bite, there is no rush of images, no dramatic flood, only a deep warmth in your chest, a feeling like returning home after a long journey. You open your eyes and remember. Nothing specific, only that you are not lost. The woman says, "That's often enough." You nod. You sit beside her under the tree. She doesn't speak again, nor do you. The silence isn't awkward. It's sacred above. A bird you've never seen before, sort of owl with feathers, like crushed velvet hoots softly. And the orchard answers with a low chime, like a lullaby echoing through the roots. A few trees away, a fruit drops to the mossy ground. It doesn't rot. It glows gently, waiting. Someone else let go, the woman says. You wonder if it was Thaliesa, or someone watching this world from the edge of sleep. You look at the orchard, its glowing fruits, its quiet rhythm. Some say that trees here whisper names back to those who have forgotten. Others say they dream of the people they once belonged to. No, one agrees on how the orchard came to be. One theory is that it was planted by Hecate herself to keep safe the parts of people they could no longer carry. Another claims that each fruit is a wish that came true and was then abandoned. The truth? Well, you suspect the orchard would smile at anyone who tried to define it. You rise to your feet. The woman does not stop you. You walk toward the far end of the orchard, where the trees grow farther apart. Beyond them lies a curtain of golden vines, swaying though there is no breeze. It looks like the entrance to somewhere quieter still. You pause, looking back just once. The woman lifts her face slightly, as if in farewell. And then you pass beneath the golden vines into a place so hushed, so gentle, that even time seems unsure whether to follow you in. Duck beneath the golden vines, their strands brushing your shoulders with a faint tickle, like sleepy fingers saying she, and then's softness. A hush even deeper than the orchard. You step into a clearing lit by what seems to be starlight caught in mist. Everything here feels slower, heavier, as though each second is wrapped in velvet. In the center of this quiet grove lies a pool. It's shaped like an hourglass. Two circles joined by a narrow waste of crystal still water. The surface doesn't ripple, not even when a leaf drifts down and touches it. The leaf just hovers an inch above, as if the pool is holding its breath. Around the edge of the hourglass, slender reeds whisper secrets in voices only the water understands. You crouch beside them and listen. One reed hums a tune you swear you once knew as a lullaby. Another murmurs, "Don't forget you were kind." A stone path, dappled with patches of moss and silver pebbles, winds around the pool like a lazy river. There's a scent in the air, something like warm parchment and old dreams. You think of a desk cluttered with ink bottles and pressed flowers, of letters never sent, of names written in the margins of books. A sign beside the pool reads, "Pew," in curling script, to remember. First, be still. To forget, just listen. You kneel by the edge and gaze in. No reflection, just moments. The pool shows not your face, but gentle echoes of time. In the top circle of the hourglass, you see fragments drifting downward like falling stars. A nymph skipping across lily pads, her laughter wrapped in golden sunlight. A girl trailing her fingers through candle wax while a harp plays behind her. A quiet night spent watching fireflies blink out one by one in someone's arms. The lower circle of the pool holds different scenes, blurrier, dreamlike. Be squint and see. A seashell you once pressed to your ear, convinced it whispered secrets. A ribbon tied to a tree and left behind without a reason. A face, half turned, mouthing a name lost to the wind. You blink. Are these yours? Are they aliases? Or are they the forest's memories, given shape just long enough for you to glimpse? The pool doesn't answer. Instead, a hush falls deeper still. Pass if the grove has noticed you noticing. Then, without warning, the hourglass shifts. Not physically, but the feeling changes. The water in the top circle begins to dim, and the lower pool glows faintly in its place. You understand, somehow, that this is the moment to choose. To let go, or to reach back, to forget more, or to try and remember. You place a hand on the stone edge. It's warm, like someone else just held it a moment before you. You whisper, "What would Thaliesa do?" And the reeds murmur back, "She remembered, just enough." Your thoughts drift to her, the strange magic in her name, the way her presence made the forest feel less confusing, less wide. The sadness in her eyes when she couldn't recall who she once was. Maybe the secret isn't to remember everything. Maybe it's to carry forward what still makes you sing. You draw in a deep breath, then exhale softly over the pool. A ripple forms gentle, almost shy, and a single image rises to the surface. It's you, seated beneath the star tree in the orchard. Not now, but long ago. Thaliesa beside you, laughing as she tries to balance 3 glowing plums on your head. One falls. You both dissolve into a fit of giggles that echoes, impossibly, into this very grove. You smile. You didn't know that memory existed, but it feels real, and it feels like yours. You blink again. The hourglass dims, and now the pool holds only stillness once more. The sign beside it now reads something slightly different. To know your name is to carry your stories, even the quiet ones. You rise, lighter than before. The silver pebbles along the path seem to nudge your feet gently toward the far end of the grove, where a tunnel of vines glows faintly, beckoning you on. Some say the hourglass pool only appears to those who've nearly forgotten themselves completely. Others claim it doesn't remember anything at all. It simply reflects what you're most ready to forgive. And a few whisper that time doesn't flow around the pool. It pauses, just for a little while, long enough for clarity, long enough to breathe. You reach the glowing archway of vines there. Draped over one branch is something unexpected, a soft scarf, the color of early morning skies. You recognize it once belonged to Thaliessa, or maybe it once belonged to you. You wrap it around your shoulders without thinking, and it smells faintly of wildflowers and ink. There's a sound beyond the archwables, poor laughter. No wings, dozens of them, maybe more. It's time to step through, to face whatever waits beyond this stillness. Not to escape the forest, but to meet it, finally, with your name steady on your tongue. Even if you don't speak it yet, even if you never do. The archway of vines closes behind you like a sigh, warm and gentle. Ahead, the path glistens with dew, though no rain has fallen. You follow its winding course, cradled by trees whose bark is threaded with silver veins, softly pulsing like fireflies, trapped beneath the surface. The air grows cooler, not cold never, sharp but crisp, like breath exhaled on the first day of autumn. Soon the forest opens again, not wide, just enough for light to pour through. And in the center of this hollow, you see it, a waterfall, but it isn't crashing or rushing. It falls slowly, like strands of melted glass, in absolute silence. Not a splash, not a drop disturbed. Only the soft shimmer of motion, like starlight, flowing down a velvet curtain. It's the first time you've heard nothing in this forest. No reeds whispering, no roots murmuring. Not even your own breath seems to echo. And then you feel it, the vibration of a name, not spoken aloud, not written, just felt, somewhere beneath the waterfall. It pulses once, like a heartbeat. You step closer. The ground is soft with moss. Glowing mushrooms curl near the edges of stones, bowing their heads as you pass. The water glows faintly silver blue, and you notice that it isn't falling into a pool, but into a mirror, or maybe a lake so still and dark it has become a memory itself. You kneel, that the silence deepens, and in that hush, a whisper, a name, not shouted, not even called, just known. That yes, sir, you don't know if the waterfall said it, or if you did, or if it had simply been waiting in the air all along. The name drifts through you like wind through a harp, not forceful, just complete, soft, right. And with it comes everything else, not every detail, not a perfect recollection, but enough. A half-song hummed while weaving garlands, the scent of lavender on fingertips stained with ink. A game played beneath starlight where you both pretended to be gods, Thaliessa, the moon, you, the quiet sky. Laughter and tears, and one promise whispered and never broken. If you forget, I'll remember. And if I forget, you'll carry me back. The moment passes. The name is still with you. Now part of you. Now part of you. Now safe. And that's when the waterfall changes. It begins to sing, not in words, not even in melody, just vibration, resonance, like your bones have joined a chorus older than the gods. You stand slowly. A breeze lifts the scarf at your neck, and a strand of hair brushes your cheek. Across the waterfall, something stirs, a shape vague but familiar, a figure formed from mist and moonlight. It's her thought, Thor. Yes, sir. She doesn't speak. She doesn't need to. You nod to her. She nods back, and she smiles not with sadness, not with longing, but with peace. She turns, steps backward into the mist, and is gone, but the whisper remains, not fading, just quiet, just true. Her name, your name, the forest's name. You close your eyes and let the silence sing. It carries you like a cradle, like water that remembers every reflection. And for the first time in the story, you don't feel like a visitor here. You feel like someone returning. You don't remember standing, and yet you are upright. The air has changed, not colder or warmer, but fuller, as though the very atmosphere is exhaling after holding its breath for centuries. A soft light gathers around your feet. The glowing moss has rearranged itself into tiny spirals, swirling patterns that seem to hum gently underfoot. They tickle your ankles with lazy curls, guiding you onward not with urgency, but with invitation. Behind you, the waterfall continues its silent descent. You glance back once. It's no longer glassy, no longer still. Now it flows like any other. Waterfall soft and gentle, with tiny splashes and mist at the base. The memory of Thaliessa has joined the forest, and the forest has accepted her. Tale, not as a ghost, not as a secret, but as song, myth, and root. You feel it in the ground, in the trees, too. Their leaves tremble slightly, as if giggling at a joke they've told each other 1,000 times. The birds, yes, now they sing again. From high branches in sleepy harmony, their notes drifting like dandelion fluff, and the breeze. It carries a scent, pine, lavender, and something sweet like honey left on a windowsill just for you. A clearing appears, not new, familiar. This is where you began, or perhaps where you once paused. A tiny cottage you hadn't noticed before leans into a crooked yew tree. Its roof is mossy, its windows round, and there's smoke curling from a crooked chimney, as if someone just lit a fire to warm the teapot. The door creaks open slightly, as if to say, "Come in if you'd like," but you don't go in, not yet. You sit right on the mossy doorstep, and the forest sits with you. It settles around your shoulders like a shawwarm, quiet, pale, and kind. You think about all the strange little things you've seen. The grumpy turtle who traded acorns for stories. The bell made of owl feathers. The song that made the stars lean closer. You wonder how much of it was real. Then again, no one said dreams had to choose between real and not real. Some say the forest of forgetting isn't real at all. Some say it grows wherever something precious is nearly lost. Others say it's not a place, but a momentous sigh between heartbeats. A shimmer between thoughts, forgotten things. Get one last chance to be remembered, and maybe they're all right. Or maybe none of them are. Either way, You've been there. You know it by heart now. And best of all, you know her name. You feel sleep tug at your eyelids. Not heavy, not demanding, just persuasive. The soft kind. The kind that smells like rain on leaves and the worn pages of a book read to many times. So you lie back. The moss is a better pillow than any you've known. Above you, the stars blink like sleepy eyes. A branch, creaks. An owl hoots politely in the distance. Somewhere very close, the waterfall hums its secret tune, the one that belongs to no one, and to you. And just before you drift off entirely, you think, the forest smiled at me, and you smile back, because even forgotten names bloom again, if someone's heart remembers them softly enough. Buyers. And now the forest fades. The colors soften into memory, like watercolors bleeding gently at the edges. Each tree becomes a shadow. Each shadow becomes a breath. The sky stretches out wide and warm above you, its stars flickering like tiny lullabies. You feel them, not just above, but within us, though they've nestled into your chest and decided to rest with you. The air is slow, the moss still. Even the moon seems to dim its glow, as if not to wake you. No questions linger, no path left untaken, just the echo of quiet laughter from the distant clearing, and the soft hum of a forest that now knows your name too. Your limbs grow heavy, like they're sinking into clouds rather than earth. Your thoughts untangle, drift, and dissolve like mist curling above a hidden stream. There is no next thing, no where to or what if, only the now, the hush, the hush, the hush. And in that hush, you are safe, you are seen, you are enough, somewhere. The nymph still wanders light as breeze, free as birdsong yet, always nearby, always part of you. Her laughter flickers in the leaves. Her name hums beneath your ribs. And if you ever forget again, the forest will remember for you. So rest, let the moss cradle you, let the stars guard you, let the dream carry you deeper, quieter, softer still. You've wandered far enough for now. You're home.